This video is brought to you by Dreamy.
You know, I think it's safe to say that most of the baseline iPad updates that we've seen for, like the past 5 years have been very, very subtle or modest. And this is the most modest in a while, at least on the surface. The A12 to the A13 really isn't that crazy other than the additional GPU performance that you get, like I demonstrated in my performance test, which I'll link in the video description if you're interested. But beyond that, the iPad 9th Gen still is a great budget Apple tablet or entryway into the Apple ecosystem. And today, I'm gonna give you 9 reasons why you should consider this over any other iPad or previous gen iPad. Reason number 1, Apple has finally decided that in 2021, 32 gigabytes is an unacceptable amount of base storage. We now have 64 gigabytes standard with the cheapest iPad 9th gen, and that's great. I mean, not really, it's sort of like the bare minimum, really, but it now allows users to, I don't know, store some photos locally on their iPad if they don't want to pay for iCloud Drive, store some, videos in Apple TV, for example, if they want to go on a drive and they don't have a cellular variant. It allows you to download content without having to worry about having a connection everywhere you go. Also, too, if you do a little bit of creative work, you can store photos on here. You can store just whatever files you want. I mean, it's up to you. The sky is your limit in terms of digital files you can store on your iPad. But yeah, now you have more wiggle room, more breathing room, which is great. But again, if you do most of your stuff in the cloud, the 8th gen 32 gig model still might be a consideration, albeit, again, it is a little hard to just be comfortable with that small or that little storage. Reason number 2, Apple has blessed us with True Tone here, and I feel like it's more of a software tweak, but nonetheless, it's here, they have it enabled, and it makes the screen look so much better, and just across all environments, I mean, it does make a difference. It sounds like it does, and it sounds like a gimmick, but once you compare it to a non-True Tone display, it just looks just so much more balanced, so much more lifelike, so much more accurate to the room that you're in. Essentially what I'm saying is it actually warms the display quite nicely, not in like an overly yellow way, but it makes sure that, like, for example, webcons in here, like this white page looks white wherever you are rather than a little bit blue or a little bit too yellow. It's sort of like a white balance in a camera. So it's a great feature. I'm glad that they finally implemented it. Could they have done it last year? Probably, but it's here and it is a nice feature nonetheless. Reason number 3, the front-facing camera in here is substantially better for 2 reasons, but in this reason, I'm gonna mostly stick to just video recording and also image quality. The image quality coming out of this is substantially better. Not miles better, but you're gonna notice that selfies are gonna look better. The back-facing camera, I think, is unchanged, so don't even worry about that. I'm just talking about the front-facing right now. But just for front-facing video and photo, you're gonna have a better experience, which is important for like school projects and other stuff you might do. I know iPads are used for video and photo capabilities or functions, even though I kind of harp on people for using it like that, like being the iPad photographer, but I digress here. Also, too, something to note is that you can record up to 1080p 60 video with your front-facing camera here, which is nice, up from 720p 30. So is it like a reason to upgrade? Not necessarily, but it is here. So if you are someone using the iPad's camera system, particularly the front-facing camera, then it's definitely a consideration that should cross your mind. Reason number 4 also has to do with the front camera here, and that is center stage. And as you can see here, I'm in the FaceTime app as it's showing this horrible angle of me with all this blurred out, hopefully. The camera tracks you where you're going. And the reason it does that is because naturally it has a humongous wide field of view. It's a 12 megapixel camera, but what happens is Apple will crop in and then sort of adjust that crop depending on where you are in the frame with whatever technology they use to sort of track your motion. But this makes for really interactive Zoom calls and FaceTime calls and any video calls. I think this feature is baked into all of those, which is really nice. It sounds like a gimmick, but once you start to use it, once you FaceTime people like that, or if you are, using your iPad for remote work, it is definitely a nice feature that will just make video calls a lot less, just boring. The fact that you can get up and walk around and do things and still maintain, contact or center yourself wherever you are, hence the name, center stage, is really nice. So you're not sort of stuck to just kind of sit there in your chair and just be in the frame. Again, you can be more active, you can be cleaning, you can be cooking or whatever, and move around and still have whoever is on the other end see you and see what you're doing. But before we continue here, I have a brief message from today's video sponsor, Dreamy, who was kind enough to send over one of their Bot L10 Pro robot vacuums for me to check out. And I gotta say, as somebody who doesn't clean their apartment as much as they should, not only is this thing pretty solid, but super handy in my life. This puppy's got precise navigation and 3D environment mapping, and I believe it. My apartment can be a tricky mess even for a human to get around sometimes, but this guy manages very well, picking up all the dirt I tend to forget about as I'm super busy with school and creating content. It does so with a brushless motor, 4 suction modes capable of simultaneous wet and dry cleaning, all with a 2.5-hour runtime. You can also control it with their app, Amazon Alexa, and set up dynamic route planning in a specific area you want to clean. Click my link in the video description to learn more. And welcome back. Reason number 5, like I said in the intro, the A13 is a better chip for gaming. I wouldn't say so in terms of everyday tasks like Word and PowerPoint and scrolling through the UI, but if you want some extra GPU performance and you are playing games like Genshin Impact or PUBG Mobile, I would say getting the 9th gen is worth it. You're gonna see some extra frames. For example, in Genshin Impact, I'll just display some of the footage I got in my performance comparison. I was noticing that by default, even though I hadn't gotten to the point in the game where I could toggle settings, a motion blur was automatically enabled with the 9th gen, and I figure that's because you have extra GPU power to handle that, so the game ran overall better, noticeably so in terms of frame rate and in terms of visuals. So yeah, if you want to, once again, game on your iPad, whether you're playing Minecraft or PUBG or Genshin or whatever is up your alley, the iPad 9th gen is definitely worth paying a little extra for, simply because you get substantially better GPU performance, sort of similar to what we're seeing with the A15 this year, at least in the iPhone 13 Pro models and in the iPad mini. You get a couple thousand more points in compute score in Geekbench, which does indicate better GPU performance. And again, I have noticed this in practice as well while playing games. Reason number 6, this iPad still supports all of the regular, typical iPad accessories, like the now 6-year-old Apple Pencil 1st gen, which you have to plug in a super bizarre way to charge, but it's just like quirky, it's just like fun. Like Apple wants you to have fun while you charge your iPad, while you turn it into a unicorn, as I've said for the past 2 years. But nonetheless, you don't have to buy another pencil, which is nice if you are repping an iPad 6th gen. For example, if you wanted to upgrade to this new baseline iPad, you could still use the same pencil. And also too, if you have a 7th gen or a 7th gen or newer, and you bought this keyboard, Apple calls it the Smart Keyboard. I just remembered the name for it. Yeah, it still works because the Smart connector is on the bottom here. So yeah, accessories still work. You don't have to worry about getting new ones. So that's good to know. It's good on your wallet. And also to keep this in mind, because these accessories have been in the market for a minute, they're going to be also on the third-party market, which you can find used for very cheap. So think about that. But yeah, it is nice to know that your accessories work, because with some other Apple devices like iPhones, for example, a new one comes out and then you have to get a new case, a new iPad Pro comes out and then you have to get a new keyboard for it. Although like in the case of the iPad Pro, some of the accessories technically work, even though it's thicker. I digress. With this, it's the same exact just aesthetic, the same exact specifications, at least in terms of dimensions and stuff. So everything is going to work, although I do hope that Apple makes this iPad look a little bit newer or updated within a year or two, but it still uses the legacy stuff. So if you own it, you don't have to spend more money on accessories for this device with all the benefits that come with it. Reason number 7, this still costs the same. It's still affordable. It starts out at $299 with education pricing and $329 for regular consumer pricing. Hello, Gmail. Yeah, it's still affordable. We did not get a price hike with this like we saw with the iPad mini, although I think that was a little bit justified. But yeah, this is still a great value tablet, even at its regular MSRP value. And this is definitely going to come down in price near the holiday and into next year. I mean, like you can find 8th gens and 7th gens where they were new for like $250 at Best Buy. Maybe like at Best Buy and like other sites or outlets are trying to get rid of their stock. But yeah, you can find these for even cheaper than MSRP, and even MSRP once again. For everything that you're getting, I think it's a great price, especially if you once again are considering getting into the Apple ecosystem. This is a great entry-level tablet. It gives you a taste of, what's great with Apple. iPadOS is a very versatile operating system, especially with the Apple Pencil. So yeah, if you want a taste or a bite of the Apple, this is what you're gonna wanna go for. And it's not gonna break the bank. Reason number 8, this might be a little controversial, but the one upside to having an air gap, which is this layer of nothing between the LCD and the glass, which doesn't look great. It's literally kind of an outdated sort of legacy look, but if you break the glass, at least you're not breaking the LCD at the same time or making it really hard to get the LCD off of the broken glass. It's a whole process to unlaminate a display and sort of salvage the LCD. But with this, if you crack the glass, if you are about repairing your iPad yourself, it's as simple as getting a tool underneath the sort of edges here and just putting on new glass. I mean, the iPad isn't water resistant to begin with, so it's a pretty simple repair for those who want to attempt it. But yeah, it's easier to repair, easier to afford to repair if you want to bring it to an Apple store or a repair shop, I'm pretty sure. So that's something to think about, especially if you have little kids. If your little son or daughter, you know, maybe you don't trust them as much as you would like an older kid to have like an iPhone or like a laminated iPad, like an iPad Air 4 or an iPad mini. Chances are if they break this, you're going to be in a better position to fix it. So that's something to think about. Although I will say, I hope that they get rid of the air gap next year. I hope that they adopt the iPad Air 3 design, but I digress. Nonetheless, though, it is easier to fix the screen on the iPad 9th gen and the 8th gen and the 7th gen and the 6th gen and all of the iPads that have the ugly air gap. And finally, reason number 9, I've sort of already touched on this, but I will elaborate more. This is a great entry-level Apple device, not only because it's cheaper, but also it's just a great value tablet for someone who really isn't sure about Apple products yet. You know, some people are curious, some people want to dip their toes in if they were previously on Samsung devices or tablets or just any other devices for that matter. And yeah, it's great at doing so many things like note-taking, for example, annotation, sketching, drawing, media consumption on YouTube, streaming, gaming, all of it. It is a fantastic tablet, and the software experience is really, really stellar. iPadOS is so much better than previous versions of iOS running on an iPad. And yeah, it's just a tool. It's a great tool, a great companion to any kind of phone, whether you have an iPhone or an Android phone or a MacBook or a Windows PC. An iPad is sort of its own standalone device. So if you're someone who doesn't want to completely envelop themselves in Apple products, if you have to have one, this is the one to have. And if you're not willing to fork out more or a lot of money for one, this is not going to hurt your wallet that much. Again, I promise you $300 for this, and even less considering the sales that are going to happen on this once again, like I mentioned, makes this a very worthwhile Apple product. And the screen just shut off, so that's my cue to stop talking. I hope this video was helpful. The iPad 9th gen, once again, is a very modest upgrade, but it is a very good value tablet. I highly recommend it this holiday season for your loved ones, for you, if you're looking to get yourself into the Apple ecosystem or just try an Apple product. This is the one, and even though the 8th gen is still a great value, and I would consider it if you don't need a lot of internal storage or you don't care about GPU performance, this is still a good buy, especially once again, considering how affordable it is. So that's all I got to say. I hope this video was helpful. I would really appreciate it if you leave a like on this video, comment if you have any questions, suggestions, or opinions, and subscribe for more content like this. I got some more content coming this weekend, including, hopefully, I'm pretty sure I'm posting this, my iPhone 13 review, and this phone is really, really good, and I cannot wait to talk about it. It's making me question if I really even need an iPhone Pro model, but I digress. I'm gonna save that for Sunday or whenever I post this. So yeah, that's it. Hope you're doing well. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.